Well, spring turkey officially kicked off today, but it started out as an interesting week when I had the opportunity to go help a friend finish off this old chicken coop that's been on his farm for over 60 years. Now, some of you might recognize this old chicken coop. This is the same chicken coop that I was able to come and get a bunch of old tongue and groove Doug fir off of it to use as siding for the chicken coop that I built for my wife. Now, myself and my wife decided a year ago that right in the middle of a snowstorm, when it was about 2 degrees, was the optimal time to go and try and get all the stuff that we needed for the chicken coop and then build the chicken coop. My wife had been asking me for a while to build her a chicken coop so she could have chickens again. Most of the materials that I use on the chicken coop were scraps that were either left over from pouring concrete up at the property or from the junkyard locally that for some reason had a whole bunch of scrap OSB. This is the tongue and groove Doug fir that I was able to use, and I have not changed a thing. I still absolutely love the way it looks, and so does my wife. Back to the demo on the old chicken coop. My job was to carefully reach out and scrape all the wood off of the concrete without damaging the concrete and pile it up so it could be burned. The owner of the property wants to use that concrete for something else, and the weight of the backhoe was too much. So I had to carefully reach out there and scrape what I could without damaging the concrete if possible, and get it far enough away that the heat from this wood when burned would not damage anything. There's still some beautiful wood in there, but it was so brittle that it was good for nothing but firewood at this point. Lots of nails. I had to be very careful with the backhoe, but again, this is the reason to me why a backhoe is so versatile and so important. I spent about 3 hours piling wood up and about an hour scraping the concrete off by hand, and he ended up paying me a couple $100. Now, I wasn't expecting that. I went over there just to help a neighbor out. I knew that at a minimum he'd put fuel in my backhoe, which is really all I was looking for. But when he gave me a couple $100, I felt like I needed to definitely give him his money's worth. 4 hours in a backhoe for $200 is a good wage for anybody. I use this New Holland backhoe at least once a week, mostly around the farm, but occasionally I have the opportunity to help neighbors out, whether it's plowing snow or whether it's cleaning up something like this. The views around this place are breathtaking, to say the least. I've never lived anywhere where I've found myself staring off into the distance on a regular basis. But the weather is enough to make even the strong weak. The creek is high right now. It's been raining a ton. The road's a mess. I tried to work on it last week and made it worse. I should have left it alone. But it was time to get back up to the ranch. I found a runoff area that went right through the property, and I'm fairly confident that I can dig a pond here without too many issues. I'm going to call the Idaho Department of Water and Resources one more time just to make sure that there's no issues with digging a pond for runoff. I would guess as long as I don't obstruct the path that the water continues to run on, it should be fine. So I'd like to dig a pond off to the side of this little runoff area. These maples grow in the strangest way sometimes, and in my opinion, this is a great location for a treehouse for my son. From time to time, I find myself getting a little bit overwhelmed, and I feel that the best way to deal with this is just to walk around the property and remind myself how much of a tremendous blessing this really is to do this, and that frankly few people would ever do what we're doing here. And in spite of the challenges, I wouldn't change a thing. I like to consider where I'm going to put the roads, where I'm going to put the barn, how I'm going to deal with all this wood that I cut down last year. And for some reason, this seems to balance me out a little bit. I decided to thin out some of these cans. 4 feet apart was just too close in some cases, so I wanted to get them about 6 feet apart. It didn't take me too long to get them pulled down and repositioned and ready to wire in for the final time. These are now 6 feet apart instead of the 4 feet apart. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing across the front, and that's going to basically put them at 6 foot span instead of the 4 foot span, which should be more than plenty. All right, I'm happy with that. So we end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of 7. And I'm thinking I'm going to thin out the. I got to think about this. I think I'm going to get rid of some more in the middle, but I don't want to get rid of too many because again, where I have this open area, there's going to be a ceiling fan with no lights. So I got to think about this for a minute. Okay, I'm happy with the layout. Monday morning I'm going to get back up here and finish wiring all the can lights up. I've got a couple of switches I need to finish. This bathroom I need to finish. I need to talk to my buddy one more time about how to have so I've got 2 sections of lights here. I'm going to wire this in two different circuits, but I'm going to have 3 switches that will be able to control both sides, and so I need to talk to my buddy about that. I think all I have to do is pull a 14-3 wire between the circuits, but I need to confirm that with him before I do it. But I think I'm good for today. I'm going to head home and hang out with the family.
There's 3 of them.
Where are they going to? The dock?
Yeah, they're going to the dock.
Rhett and Tel decided that 44 degrees was plenty warm enough for them to take a dip into the lake. Is it deep enough?
It's deep enough.
Oh, they're going down to the lower one. About 2 weeks ago, there was still ice on the lake, so I've got to think it's 35, 36 degrees, but they wanted to jump in.
Up the other side, all the way down. Jump.
1,
2, 1.
Yeah, they're rethinking that one right now.
That was so cool.
Yeah, you have to stay outside and dry off.
They couldn't get inside fast enough. We need to get a thermometer and go see how cold that water is.
Yeah. Well, it only become not frozen last week. That was